over the years and all of you got to have a lot of special memories. Any of them stand out in your mind more than others that were special to you?
Well, of course, I was blessed to work with good students and good fellow faculty members and good clientele, but I also had the good fortune of being able to travel and meeting a lot of interesting people over the country. For example, on one occasion, I was at an Angus field day held at J.C. Penney's farm. He not only had stores, but he also had Guernsey dairy cattle, and he had Angus cattle. And his Angus place was on the Hudson River near Rhinebeck. And I went there to speak at that field day, and Mr. Penny was there. He was about 93, I think, at the time. Very vigorous, booming voice. The rest of us used a PA system, and he disdained that. And during the course of the day, I had a chance to visit with him several times. And he told me he had something over 3,000 stores. And I said, Mr. Penny, with 3,000 stores, what's your biggest problem? He said, my young managers. I said, what? He said, they're resistant to change. I said, what? He said, yeah, my young managers are the most resistant to change. Now, it blew my mind, So I went back home and thought about that, and now I found that in our own faculty, that was a situation to some extent. And then I realized why. The older faculty members were secure, they had tenure, they had a lot of experience to fall back on, and they might think, well, this might fit in. This might be good. But the young faculty members, they didn't have tenure, they didn't have that experience, and they just were hesitant to take a risk, And I noticed that the most resistant to change on campus were the students. And I found that in the departmental clubs. If something had been going on for 40 years, it might have died, but they didn't want to bury it. So that really precipitated a new perspective. Old people are always thought of as resistant to change. That's not always true.
Well, Bob,
Let me mention another off-campus person that was interesting. I was in Georgia for a talk to the Georgia Cattlemen's Association. They were meeting in Augusta. And the night before they had a reception, and I was going through the hors d'oeuvre line, and a fellow next to me nudged me, and he said, that's Miss Lillian sitting over there. I said, who? He said, Miss Lillian, Jimmy Carter's mother. I said, okay. I wasn't aware of the politics of the thing so much at that time. And when I finished the hors d'oeuvre line, I looked over there and she motioned at me. So I went over there and she said, have a seat. And we visited, and pretty soon she said, you're not from around here, are you? I said, well, no. How did you decide that? She said, well, I noticed you only took one helping of each hors d'oeuvre. And so we visited some more, and then she looked at me and she said, you're a Republican, aren't you? And I kind of sheepishly admitted that I was, and I said, how could you tell? She said, I could see it in your eyes. And I again was kind of apologetic, and she said, oh, that's okay. She said, I like Republicans. Jimmy doesn't, but I do.
That's a great story. Well, what are some of the significant events in the life of the college and university that you recall in your half century, nearly with the college? There's some, not achievements or accomplishments, just events. People that come on campus, special activities.
Well, one of the most significant eras during my tenure there was 1957 when the first Sputnik orbited the Earth, and there was a sudden, intense move towards more science. OAMC became OSU, and animal husbandry became animal science, and that same situation was apparent all across the country.
Bob, how did you feel about the name change from Oklahoma A&M to Oklahoma State University?
Well, I didn't have any reservations about that at all.
Some of the old Aggies kind of disdain that new title a little bit.
That's right. I mean, I could appreciate the necessity for increased emphasis on the basic sciences, and so I thought it was very appropriate. And the same with our name change in the department. The only reservation I had about the name change in the department was animal science. But animal science is so much more than science. You know, it's business, and it's production and management. So that's the only reservation I had about that name change. But I don't know what it could have been, you know, without being a long name.
Bob, how would you hope people remember you? I mean, of all the activities you did, all the things, how do you hope people remember Bob Totusek? Huh?
Well, going back to my early comments, I'll hope they didn't think I did too much damage, and at least maintain the level of the department, because it is a good department. You know, I was extremely blessed to work for a great university in a great department. I'm one of those fortunate people, and I didn't realize how few they are in this country, of loving to go to work every day.